is a plant in the house where I am staying. Yes.
I was looking like, that's a fancy plant.
It is a fancy plant. I'm fancy. All right, we're live. Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Facebook. It's Monday Mayhem. Aren't you excited that we're here? Super, super happy to be joined by two ridiculously badass human beings. Before we get started, while I'm waiting, you're badass. While I'm waiting for people to join us, I'm going to tell people that we're live.
Gotcha. We all the way from the Bronx. What up?
Live all the way from the Bronx and San Bernardino. So neither of us are actually in the places where we can usually be found. I mean, well, I am. You're in the place where you can usually be found, but I'm all over the place. So, you know, so exciting.
Right.
So I'm super happy you both are here. I'm just doing one more thing so that I can watch us while we're live. Yeah, oh, there's people watching. Hold on. Live all the way from the... Liz Irish is here. Yay! Hi, Liz. All right, my friends. So I would like you to start by introducing yourselves. And Dane, will you talk about how we met? Because that's an awesome story.
Wait. You have to refresh my memory on how we met. Because
we met on Twitter. I'm sure it was some sort of Hillary moment.
We have like a big altercation.
No, you retweeted one of my things and I was like, oh, Dane Weeks is retweeting one of my things. And then you started following me. And it was when I was like a baby tweeter during the election.
Well, you know, I protected so many women from, you know, the Bernie bros and the Trump bros and all the other bros, you know, so I felt like it was my duty. I felt like I was prepared, you know, to take on the world for Hillary. So why not defend the women that was basically, you know, the vagina voters, as they call them, disrespectful.
Yes!
But hey, it most likely we've grown, I'll say. We've grown as friends more than just followers on Twitter.
I totally agree with that.
We have the inbox communications that nobody know about.
Yeah, that's right. We're on the DM.
You slid in my DMs.
I love it. Nick, I know we met like 5 minutes ago, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, listen, my name is Nick. I'm Dane's brother. I also go by McFly. So I'm here. I'm just here to piggyback off comments made, you know, offer my opinion when asked.
This is my frat brother. Shout out to the noobs. He's a teacher. Well, now he's a dean of students. He's a rapper. He's a producer. So
that's my rap sheet right there.
That's his rap sheet. He's very
talented. That's amazing. And Dane, what do you do for a living besides harass bros on Twitter?
They harass me. I mind my business on Twitter.
Listen,
right?
You mind your business on Twitter. Okay.
I mind my business on Twitter. They come after me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you know, I produce. I like to write. I'm an author. I'm also a professional house manager. I take care of a household with, you know, children, their housekeepers, their driver, their personal assistant, their chef, you know, and then I have my own Manny production where I take care, you know, other kids, rich kids for the most part. I mean, you see the pictures that I post where where the Bernie bros attacked me for having Barron Trump with me that time in Central Park. So.
Yeah. By the way, I was a nanny in New York once too.
Isn't it the greatest?
Yes, I loved it so much. It was fantastic. I totally loved it. I love that we have that commonality. That just brings me such joy.
We love children. It's cool. It's that bond.
It is. It's incredible. So there are a couple of places that you and I have intervened or have come together, not intervened, but have come together on Twitter. There's a couple of different spaces. One is our mutual love for Hillary Clinton, who we both adore.
Right.
One is around LGBT
Happy
advocacy.
President's Day, Hillary.
Yes, happy President's Day, Hillary. The real president.
Madam President.
Madam President, indeed. Sad.
Don't you do it.
Another is around LGBT advocacy, and another is around addressing the blatant and ridiculous racism and white supremacy that you and I both experience on Twitter. So,
right.
One of the things I would love you to share with everyone who's watching, which, by the way, we have a hell of a group of humans watching right now. It's awesome. So thank you all for being here. Is why do you engage in activism on Twitter? Like, what compels you to engage in activism and take an activist role, not just in Twitter, but in your community as well? Because I know you also do a lot of on the ground work in your community.
Well, I've been a political head since I was maybe 9 years old. I'm 36 now. So it was always weird because for some reason I always liked the news. And one time I was probably like 9 years old and I was headed to a party with my mom's, and some city council person stopped her. And I'm like, can we go so we can get to this party? Like you're talking a little bit too long. And my mom, she just started to engage in this person. And I'm just like, yo, I just want to go to the party. Like, drop me off and then come back. You can have this conversation with this young man all day long. But anyway, as we left this person, she was talking to me. She was like, these are the people that makes the laws. So, you know, at that particular time, we had so much going on in our own personal life that she needed a political head that understood where she was coming from as a Black woman, where she was coming from as an immigrant into this country, you know, living in, I guess, the hood or the ghetto, whatever you want to call it. So that was like my first insight of, okay, politics is something important, because if my mom is giving it that much, you know, play, I guess I should start looking into it. So since then, I started to follow the news or whatever. And I worked on one campaign at 9 years old, passing out flyers. It was just something to do, earned like $2 an hour or something like that. And then in 92 came around. I was 10. It was April. I remember it. I guess that was the Hillary Clinton bacon cookies clapback. Mm-hmm. When she was talking to Jim Brown about, you know, she should stay in her place as a woman. And she said, well, I could have went to school and better my life, but I decided to da-da-da. That's when I was just like, I looked at my mom. I said, yo, who is this woman? Because I come from a household or a family or an environment where it was just powerful women. So when I saw her as a white woman, I was just like, yo, mom, who's this white woman talking crazy on my screen? Like, this is crazy to me that she was, and it was so funny because it was like I don't know if it was like it just seemed like it just came together so well because they went past each other. And I guess somebody whispered, that was the man that was talking shit about you. And she just turned around on some gangster shit like, yo, first of all, I ain't no Lily housewife that's gonna be staying. I'm just like, this is my mom's. Like, my mom's talks crazy like this. You know, and you know, I talk about my mom's being in a domestic violence relationship, and it didn't matter how many times my father hit her, my mother's mouth was still reckless. Like, she never lost the fear in her. So when I saw Hillary Clinton clap back like that, I was just like, yo, she talking to a man. Oh, I gotta start focusing on politics. Like, this is amazing to me. So I was 9 years old because, you know, it was General Hospital, Oprah, and then, you know, Fox, the Channel 7 News comes on. So they let open it, and I'm doing my homework, and all I heard was her voice coming through the TV. And I'm just like, I looked up, like, this is amazing to me. So from that point on, I always knew politics was in my forefront of professionalism. I never knew if I was going to be in politics. I just knew I liked it. So you could ask my moms or my brothers. Like, I used to bug them all the time with politics and, you know, the Al Gores and because Al Gore is the first person I actually voted for. Even though
really?
Yeah,
Bill
2000
Clinton.
was my first
Bill
time
Clinton's
voting.
the first person I voted for. Bill Clinton was my first president.
That was when Bill Clinton ran in, what was it, 96?
92.
He ran in 96.
92.
No, I'm just talking about the second term.
Oh, okay.
Second term.
Fine.
Yeah, second. Yeah. I was 10 in 92. I was 14, I think. I was in 8th grade. I know that for a fact. And we had to actually do the election for social studies class. And that's when I learned that, the popular vote, the electoral colleges. And that's where I started to actually learn the ground of, okay, politics is not just about voting. It's about which state carries the most electoral college. And I'm saying, like, so at what point does the popular vote play into? And then I also had to learn, the only election you cannot win with the popular vote is the presidency, which is weird. Like, without the popular vote, every other election you can win except the presidency. So that's where I kind of learned the whole gist of politics. And I've always been, a fan of politics. I hated sports. I never played sports. I was on the, every committee in schools growing up. And I just thought that was my sport. Politics was my sport. I took debate classes. I just like talking shit. I like to read. My mom always told me, to be a threat in society, if you're a Black educated man in America, you're a threat to society. So I said, if that's going to make me a threat to society, I want to be that threat. And the only way I was going to learn to be that threat to society, if I opened up a book, open up a newspaper, and actually read. Arm yourself. That's my armor. My knowledge was my armor. Can I fight? Hell yeah. But that's only because I had to defend myself. My mouth can get me out of a lot of things, and it has gotten me out of a lot of things. If I fought, that means I wanted to fight you. But I can easily walk out of a situation, not putting a hands on somebody and demolish you. You see me, like, I don't have to get ignorant on Twitter with people. Like, I intellectually put you in your place and then tell you, fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I've been and this is why I stay to myself on Twitter, because it's like my mind has been trained since 9 years old to look at politics differently. So I'm not looking at it through the same lens as everybody else. I'm looking at it at a lens that's been following sports. Like how, you ever heard a 9-year-old be excited about sports? And you're like, oh my God, like, how do you know so much about sports? It just engages them. So a debate and I wasn't always, Republicans are the enemy. It was just, I'm not rocking with that side.
That's because when we were younger, they weren't.
Exactly.
That's because when we were younger, they weren't the enemy. Like, there was discourse and conversation. Do you have anything to add to this?
No, I mean, as far as I was, I think I'm probably gonna be best at a later point in the conversation. Probably, I just have a feeling that's how that's gonna work out.
You see, the thing is with him, he's a down the line type of guy. Like, he's never really been into politics. Like, he's a sports and he's more of a music and but he can dabble in the conversation. So later on in the conversation, when it shifts to current situations,
then you won't be able to shut me up.
Then you won't be able to.
All right. Okay, good.
But there was times, trust me, there was times when he used to look at me and be like, can you shut the fuck up about this politics for a second?
I already know where his passion lies when it comes to the politics. So, and I second a lot of it, so it's like, I just let him go, It's kind of like when you got that pit bull that's just ready to go at all time. All you got to do is let go of the leash. Yeah, I just let the leash go.
Listen, at some point you got to do that, especially when you're talking to natural born political rebels like us. Like, when you're a natural born political rebel, like, there's no stopping you once you get on a tear. You just have to let us go.
And
which is why
when we remain silent and let you talk, know that we're calculating everything that you say.
Like,
I'm gonna let you finish.
If we're letting you talk, we were like coming up with the answer to all of the things you're bringing up. That is correct. So, I would love for you to talk a little bit about the racism that because I sit and observe it from like the white girl in Oregon standpoint, right?
Right.
So the racism that you've experienced on Twitter, the way you have always handled it is just phenomenal. And I think a lot of people tend to run away from it, but it's both of our natural inclinations to sort of run into it and deal with it. So would you talk a little bit about the racism that you've experienced on Twitter in particular as an activist, and talk a little bit about like maybe a couple ways, because I know that the people that are watching, they also bring up a lot of controversial things in their own personal activism or experiences. And I'd love for you to talk about the activism you've experienced or the racism you've experienced and how you feel like we can start addressing that in a more proactive way, because that's what you do when you are on Twitter.
I mean, it's Twitter. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Like, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to say it to my face. Like, if we're out in the person, like, so I don't really, get offended. I just re-quote it so other people can see the ignorance. But it don't bother me. Like, I've been called all types of things throughout my whole entire life. Like, I felt like my 2 older brothers prepared me for this type of state that I'm in right now, because they used to, I was the youngest, so they used to, I don't want to use the word bully, but they used to kick me every now and then. But so it doesn't, I come from an environment where, they used to beat my ass just a little bit. I mean, but it was brotherly love. But I come from an environment that you had to take a joke. You had to take an insult. If I react every single time I'm disrespected, where's my peace? Like, I can't, like, you've seen, like, I've been disrespected. And for some reason, I would either put a little smiley face with a kiss, like, because if I tell you how I really feel, I'm going to get off of Twitter, and I'm not going to give you that, because it's like a catch-22. You tell them how you feel, then they screenshot it, change the narrative, and now they plant you all around social media with this narrative that you're this ignorant Black person or whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, people look at our skin colors and already think that we're ignorant and we're arrogant and we're thugs and we're stuff like that. So I'm very mindful of the things that I put on Twitter. If my mom cannot read it, I don't put it on Twitter.
Good one. I love that that's your threshold. If my mom can't read it, it's not going on there. Such a good threshold.
And that just goes for pictures, retweets, whatever the case may be. I like to respect my followers and just keep at least my page, my account, respectable of all ages and all views and all politicals. But you're gonna know, like, I continuously put the #1 rule: watch your mouth about Hillary Clinton on my wall. Anything else, I really don't care too much for. Like, I know that we're popular than we expect. We're more popular than we, that we realize, I'm assuming, because people are watching our accounts. And the second that we do something or say something, we're getting tossed in Twitter jail for like 7 days, 30 days. And it's just like, how do you expect us to respond to this? So it's like we're battling the administration, and then we're battling the bots and the actual other ignorant fools on Twitter. So it's just like, it's a no-win situation, so why feed into it? So every time you insult me, I'm just going to hit you with another fact. So if you're talking about Bernie Sanders, for instance, and you're talking about, you need to get off the plantation, and you need to stop reading his rape essays. Like, I'm going to be on this plantation, but you're reading his rape essays. How about that?
Yeah.
And if you come back with another insult, I'm going to come back with another shady-ass fact. This guy voted to actually protect 2-time child rapists.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm going to make sure that I insult you to know that you may not be a sexual predator, but you're supporting someone that's a sexual predator. Which is, so that's kind of similar. You gotta. That's how we were raised in our environment. Like, we gotta counterpunch at the same time. When you counterpunch, make sure that you lay that motherfucker out. And that's how I kind of juggle, the back and forth, because they come for me. Like, you just saw, what is his name? John Susiak or whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know this man. This man has 1.5 million followers. I don't know this man. Only reason why I knew he attacked like 5 of us is because someone screenshotted him and sent me the link. That's
wow.
It. He has me blocked. I don't know why. I don't know this man. But he sent his 1.5 million followers to my account. Thank you. I mean, I gained.
I know, right? Thank you.
But thank you.
I know. I think it's really interesting. I think it's really. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to. I want to be aware of your time and my time too. I want to say something about that though. I think it's so interesting that what hits on Twitter and what doesn't hit on Twitter, and I think this is what keeps a lot of people from engaging in activism online. Like because you never know what's going to go and what's not. And sometimes I say the most random ass shit and people are like, oh my God, that was a genius. Oh, you're amazing. And then I say something that I have like come up with for 3 days and I put it out there and they're like, wah, wah, like nobody retweets it.
Right.
What is even happening? But I think that it's the uncertainty of the online platform that keeps people from engaging in complicated and difficult conversations about racism and sexism and LGBT issues. And you're just not staying away from any of that, which I just have to say, I just super duper appreciate and love, because I feel like it raises the level of discourse that we have to, because it's like you said, you never know who's watching and you never know who's going to respond and what's going to click for people. And if we're playing at that higher level, and sometimes I get down in the weeds and say assholey things, but for the most part, playing at that level where you and I are playing, it totally shifts the game. So I want to talk about LGBT issues for a second, because that's another thing that you talk about online all the time. You talk about being part of the LGBT community. You talk about how you talk about racism in the LGBT community, which I super duper appreciate you covering as a topic sometimes.
Definitely.
Because that's real life right there.
Right.
But I want to talk to you a little bit about, so you talked a little bit about racism and how you're experiencing that now, but can you talk about sort of the LGBT phobia and homophobia and all the stuff that we are also encountering as members of the LGBT community on Twitter and online and in our activism?
Well, it took me a while to even, let me tell you how long this journey was. I've known this man now, 15 years? And within the 15 years, he's only known me to be gay for the last 4 or 5. 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, about 5.
Because, and he was just like, yo, how the hell did I not, like, this was my little brother in college, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I never, I kept it on the wraps because I come from the West Indian culture. So I had to be as conservative as possible with my mannerisms, my certain friends that I bring around. It's always has to been, through the lens of, if I can identify that you're gay, you can't be around me because of the culture that I came from. So I always had to have, that being hidden. So it became like I was juggling like 2 lives, and within juggling 2 lives, sometimes your minds crash because it becomes, you live in this one life, and then when you leave out this environment, you got to switch back into this environment, and now you have to have a different mental space. So it's like it's 2 personalities within one that you're juggling. So which means you're honestly juggling the gay mentality, the straight mentality, and then the human being that's juggling these 2 things. So it became like a mental fuck to me. Like, and I've held it together for so long, but it just became too much on my soul to, to continue to actually carry. It was like either you come out of this situation that you're in, or you drown in the situation that you're in. And, there was a time, I don't even think he knows that I attempted suicide. Like, I don't even think there was a time that he knew that I actually attempted suicide when he was just like 10 minutes from my house in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a battle, it's a struggle. And once I realize I'm out of that box, no one else is going to put me back in that box.
Right.
So I scream it from, you know, I'm respectable of everybody else's journey, whether you're straight, gay, in between, or whatever the case may be, because I knew it was a struggle for me to accept it. So that's why I'm not too harsh on straight people jumping on the board of the LGBT. I just want you to respect us. I'm not saying you got to agree. I'm not saying that you got to walk around wearing the flag and doing all the other things. I just need you to respect us. However you travel that journey on agreeing that where you come to that, you know, normalization of, okay, it's nothing really different, because even my best friend, my brother, had to walk that journey. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't rush him, but the fact that he respected it throughout the journey, because once again, I was already, so it's like I lied to him because I was straight, and then Negro, 10 years later, you telling me you gay, like, like, and I had no clue. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I allow people their space, and when I speak about it on, you know, on Twitter, it's like it's a form of helping everybody else walk that path that I had to walk, because I didn't have nobody to really talk to. Not to say I didn't allow no one to have that space or that connection to me to actually talk to them to say this. I already cut everybody else off because of how we in the LGBT community feels like society already framed us.
Yeah.
So when they framed us like that, we already know there's statistics on the books that says kids get kicked out of their house when they're gay. You know, people lose their family when they're gay. People lose their friends when they're gay. People lose their jobs when they're gay. People lose their housing when they're gay. So we kind of, you know, indirectly attach that to every single heterosexual. And it's kind of wrong because we don't give them the opportunity to actually be like, yo, it's all right. Because when I told him, he was just like, yo, it's cool. He's just, I'm gonna have to get comfortable with it, you know, because my best friend, my brother, is now telling me a little bit more of who he is. I mean, sure, he can talk about it more on his own, but for the most part, I felt bad because this is somebody that we've engaged in personal communications about families and stuff like that, and I didn't tell him a certain part of me of who I am. And that didn't change how I treated him or how he treated me, but at the same time, it's just like,
I think that expectation,
right?
Because I know when he first told me about it, I could tell from the text message that it was defensive. It was kind of like, listen, this is who I am, and kind of like, you know, and it felt kind of like it was a boxing match. He just was like, listen, I'm ready for whatever you're gonna throw at me, but this is who I am, you know. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm bro, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool with that, obviously. Like,
so he was waiting for you to reject him right from the gate?
Yeah, it felt a lot like, it was like, you know, this is, at this point, I'm letting you know who I am, if accept it or not, kind of thing. And it's like, and I kind of expect you to not, you know, because this is out of the norm, you know. And it's unorthodox. Like we said, we already had conversations about personal things and things that we already felt like we knew about each other. So if somebody was to come and tell me anything different, that would have been like, I would have fought them for, you know, for whatever, just for saying, you know, something about him that's not true. Forget about what it is, you know, what it's supposed to be. If they're saying anything about my brother that's not true, I'd have fought them for it. If this is true, he told me, you know what I'm saying? So we were that deep. This is, you know, this late in the game, I should have told you probably thing. And I kind of accept you to, or I expect you to not accept me at this point. But I was, you know, I was cool. Like, bro, I don't care. Like, listen, listen, we the same regardless. Like, it's the brother that we have has nothing to do with who he prefers, like, and who I prefer for that matter. Like, we're brothers because of the bonds we share outside of those experiences. And one thing I always respected Dane for was just, you know, and, you know, kind of tying in the two things that, you know, you guys have been speaking about thus far. Like, one thing I've always admired about him is that he understands and has showed me that progress is uncomfortable. Like, no progress is born in comfort. Like, you have to, you know, in order to be able to get people to understand and make progress from where you are, and it's gonna be uncomfortable because it's change. Like, and it's gonna take time for people to accept that and be able to, you know, move on with it, or if you decide you want to run away from it, fine, you can choose to do that. But at the end of the day, even that is going to be something that's uncomfortable. You know, the progress you're going to make in that direction is going to be uncomfortable. So I know that that's the reason why he speaks out on these things, and he's comfortable doing it, because he knows that in the end, it's going to build progress. And once we get there and look back, we're going to know what it took to get there. We're going to realize, hey, it was a little bit uncomfortable. The ride was uncomfortable, but we're here now.
And which is just to piggyback off, not to cut you off real quick, but just to piggyback off, is just like, because I know you've been following my account, you know, the last couple of days, and I've just been putting questions out there just to start, you know, conversations or whatever the case may be. And I posed a question, when did you become comfortable with homosexuality? And I didn't even expect that tweet to like take off the way that it took off. And somebody asked me, and I was just like, you know, it took me a while, and people were shocked that, you know, as a gay person, it took me a while to be comfortable with homosexuality. And I'm like, listen, you have to understand, we grew up in a society that told us we were shit, that we were damn near going to hell. We were hell bound, you know? So it's like, you have to get comfortable with yourself before you even tell anybody else, because once you come out the closet, there ain't no going back.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? You just told me you were gay, now you talking about you ain't. So it's just like, I had to make sure that I was comfortable within myself, and it took years. You know, it took years of failure, it took years of trying, it took years of traveling throughout different weeds, because we had to do it all on our own.
And
we didn't have the
internet. What happened?
We had AOL.
We come out and we're like, okay, we're out, and we expect this community to embrace us because we're part of the community, and it is not a warm and loving place. Coming out to straight people is hard enough, and to your family and to your close friends and all those people is hard enough. And usually, most of the time, for the most part, I mean, I have found that that people are like, no, duh, but whatever. So, like, there's that piece, right? But then we walk into this community, and I identified as lesbian at one point, and now I identify as bisexual because that just makes other people feel better about my life, whatever. There is no, like, you know, it's bi now, gay later. Like, there is no love in the LGBT community for bisexual people at all. And so there's like, you think you're going to run into this new community and be like embraced and loved, and you are not. Like, it is hard to be out. And I'm sure, go ahead. Go pontificate.
Like the whole, you know, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but the Jesse Smollett, Smollett, just put aside, you know, what we know about it now. Let's just focus on the story that he told. The Black community focused on the Black part. The gay community focused on the gay part. And I'm sitting here like, I'm Black and gay, so what the fuck? Like, I can't ignore either one. And it just
and
like
you can't pull it apart.
I can't. Like, this could have been me. And I tell people all the time, like, you know, and I got into a lot of trouble during the election. I said, because yes, I'm here for the whole Black Lives Matter. But at this point, from my point of view, I'm kind of like the All Lives Matter guy, because I can be killed for being Black and gay. So I can't pick and choose. I have to acknowledge both of them, because I can easily be a target on both ends. And I get the fact that, you know, Black Lives Matter, of course, but at the same time, Black Lives Matter is not recognizing the gay in me. And I have a problem with that, because we do have a Black demographic of the LGBT community. So you can't just say that we're gay. No, we're Black and gay. So we're also still, it's just like having a white and a Black, and then you have the little circles that goes in and they intertwine. Like, this is me. Like, I'm in the middle. I'm Black and gay, so I can't pick and choose. I have to sit here and be reasonable about both situations. Like, while you're sitting here making your point of view based off of what happened, oh, they was going to hung him. Okay, but they also called him a faggot. So it makes it a double hate crime.
Right.
You know, so.
And we can't keep putting people in these silos where we try and compartmentalize people's lives and their lived experiences.
Right.
I mean, before we even went live, we were talking about how you all have all these fabulous things that you do in the world, that you're a rapper and a teacher and a thinker and like all of these things that you do, and that you're straight and Black and you're gay and Black. And, you know, I am, you know, I was joking that I'm the white girl from Oregon, but, you know, like I actually grew up in Utah, and like I have, you know, and I'm bisexual and I'm a feminist and I have all these other identities that come with me. And we can't keep trying to put each other in these stupid categorical boxes, because that's, I think, destroying the ability to have conversations across platforms, because we're not willing to give people the entirety of who they are as human beings.
Right. I think when we put in these boxes, we create the Trump walls. So
yes.
And that's why it makes it so difficult to communicate nowadays, because it's like we build this wall up, and now it's taking a long time to break it down just for me to communicate to you.
It's the divide and conquer thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, like you said, like I'm straight and Black, he's gay and Black, and even though we share that commonality of being Black, technically we would be compartmentalized separately because of our sexual preference. And then we would have never gotten a chance to build this bond. We wouldn't be speaking to you right now because, you know, I'm not sounding that way, but we share very little, you know what I'm saying? If not, you know, just basic ideas and, you know, just basic humanistic things that we share. You know, our experiences are probably far apart, but here we are today speaking to each other, and we wouldn't be if we were compartmentalized in a way that would say, okay, your experiences and who you are and this, all the way down to your sexual preference and your experiences, this is the box that you go in. How many people are going to be in that box with you? Like, when you really, like, when you take
my friend Judy,
minute details like that.
Yeah. My friend Judy just said, people are complicated. We're not supposed to fit in a box. And yet here we have all these systems that try and put us in those spaces, right? It just doesn't work. And I love what you just said about how there's no way we would be talking if we weren't like addressing our like fellow common humanity. I think it's so it's so fascinating.
We probably wouldn't share enough to be speaking right now.
No. But here we are loving each other.
And here we are all because of Twitter.
I fucking Twitter. I love Twitter so much. So the last question I have for both of you all is, what is one thing? So I have a program called Fanning the Flames, and it's I have an online program, and then I also have a workshop that I do live and in person all over the country, talking about how to tap into your passion to make a difference in your community. So what is one of the things that is fanning your flames and lighting you on fire right now? Like, what totally has you lit up and feeling passionate right now?
The way they fucking treated Hillary Clinton.
Tell us more.
They treated my mentor like shit. And I am not here for it. I'm holding everybody to her standards. I don't care who they are. You better be able to take 40 years of media trashing you. I don't want to hear nobody complaining. I don't want to hear nobody making excuses for anybody. Hillary Clinton took all these shits for y'all to put 5 women right now to be running in the Democratic Party. And not one of these people are showing her an ounce of respect. They ain't mentioning her by name, but a lot of shady things is being brought to the forefront that's very uncomfortable for me, because for one, without Hillary Clinton's base, you do not win the Democratic Party, plain and simple. This shit was stolen. Like my first time voting, this shit was stolen in 2000. And he won by what, 500,000 votes, Gore? And then in 1995, I told my mom, after watching, you know, her speech in China, women's rights speech, I told my mom, I said, this is going to be the first woman president. And then 20 years later, in 2015, April, she announced she's running for president again. It came all full circle. And then the way that, you know, she started off with 60% of favorability, and then Bernie fucking Sanders came in with his low, like he destroyed her image. Like like it's to the point that I took it very personal, because when we're talking about politics and betterment and advancing and being the betterment of people, we look at policies.
Yep.
There's nothing. This is what you do as a politician. You create policies to better people. She had 80, and she had 50 years of bettering people. Not only the people that look like us, but people who don't look like us, and people who look like us in different heights, different places, different area codes, different countries. This wasn't a woman that was just destined to be a president of America. This was a woman that was destined to be a president of the world, because
you are going to make me cry right now.
Oh. Because they don't people don't really understand what we lost as a country. Like, we lost a significant, like, November 9th, like, I was in shambles. Not only because of she lost, but how she lost and who she lost to.
Yep.
And then to find out she won the popular vote by damn near 3 million votes. Yep. And lost the shit by 70,000.
Yeah.
And then to turn around and figure out all his henchmen are being locked the fuck up. Mm-hmm. And then we have the media and everybody else talking about why the fuck Hillary Clinton lost. This is why I'm pissed the fuck. I'm pissed the fuck off, because they did one of my mentors dirty. Yeah. And this is why I'm sitting here and I'm not holding. I love the fact that I want everybody to run. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you do, but don't come out here talking about white working class. I'm sorry. I'm not here for the fuckery. That white working class shit, y'all finally got a taste of what black and brown America has been going through for fucking centuries, and now you want to complain and you want to act like the fucking world is over? No. Welcome to our world. We've been struggling. What the fuck did y'all call us? Lazy. You called us lazy. You disrespected our black women and you called them welfare queens.
Yep.
And then you sit here and you wonder why black women have surrounded Hillary Clinton like an armor. Is because she produced policies that benefit black communities. Yep. Whether it's guns, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, she's been in there. And that's the thing that's driven me for the last 3 years, the way they treated Hillary Clinton. And I'm calling everybody out. And one of my missions was to destroy Bernie Sanders, like, every single day, every opportunity, at every turn. Because he got away with so much, with producing so much fuckery. Like, it was just, who is this man? And the fact that he rode his white privileged tail all the way to the end. And then when it got to the end, it took him 6 weeks to endorse this woman after trying to, and you talk about super delegates and then you turn around and try to steal the super delegates away from her. It was just like, I watched it. I learned this term in women's study in college, was like political rape. I felt like they politically raped Hillary Clinton and no one gave a fuck. And it was just like, what else do this woman have to do to prove to y'all that she's pretty fucking likable? It was just like,
'cause she's amazing!
Like, she played the game harder than the
people are like, how do you like Hillary Clinton? And I'm like, do you even know what she did for kids in foster care? Do you even know who she is as an attorney? Like, I have loved her since I discovered her in 1988, because I'm older than you. And that's when I found Hillary Clinton. Is that I was like, who is this amazing woman doing all this work for kids in foster care? Political rape. That is genius, Dane. I love that. Political rape. That is so. I'm gonna talk about that, I think, in another blog, because it's so key. It's so because what's happening. And look at what they're doing to all these other women. Look at what they're doing to Kamala's not black enough, or she's too black. I mean, look what's happening. We're doing it all fucking over again. All over again.
And it's the media. It's the media. It's the media that's playing this game. That's why I don't listen to the media. Like, they're the only people that's thriving in this country right now is the media.
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause we
and
depend on the
then
media.
CNN has the headline that R. Kelly had sex with an underage girl. Like, spell it with me, people. RAPE. Like, that's not sex with an underage girl, yo.
Yo.
Do you have anything to add, my friend, or are you just like you're enjoying this?
Yeah, I definitely am. You know, but the fact, I mean, the truth is, I'm mad about whatever he's mad about. But honestly, I am. No, one of the things that does piss me off is the fact that Bernie didn't turn it over when he was supposed to. Like, in the end, we should have all assembled to prevent what we have now. You know, when it was proven that he wasn't statistically gonna win, he should have done the right thing and took his supporters and dedicated them to Hillary like he was supposed to. Like, you took too long to do it. Enough. Some of your supporters probably turned coat, and you know, for that, I can't respect him for that. So, like Dane said, I'm tight about that, and I fully support his you know, Dane's goal to bring Bernie to his demise, because for that, like, you should, because I think that he's almost key in the reason why we have the president that we have now, because we could have done a lot more with his support. So,
and it's just the fact that, you know, in 2008, June 4th, President Obama clinched the nomination. June 7th, Hillary Clinton endorsed this man and threw all her 17 million voters behind him, and she campaigned to 200 stops. She did fundraisers, Hillary Clinton in 50 years has raised $3 billion for Democrats. Yeah. And the Democrats treat her like shit after they. Bernie Sanders got $50 million from the DNC in 2016. And that was because of Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And however she raised it, that's how we got to fucking play. I'm going to go on a rant real quick. I'm sorry. But
you go on your rant.
How we raise the money is not my fucking concern, because it's a game that we have to play out here. My concern is how you vote. Yeah. Hillary Clinton took money from all these people that they say, but how did she vote? She didn't vote in favor in any of these people. Bernie Sanders took money from the NRA. How did he vote in favor of the NRA? Bernie Sanders took money from Wall Street. How did he vote in 2000 in favor of Wall Street? Yep. Bernie Sanders took money from anti-environmental protection organization. How did he vote? By dumping fucking toxic waste in poor towns in Texas, in brown communities. So if you're looking for pay for play, let's look at who they're taking money from and how they're voting, because that's the problem. If you're taking money from these people and you're not voting in their favor, it's a cat race. This is politics. This is big boys. I don't understand what these people are talking about. Like, politics is brutal. And
I love that you brought that up, though. I love that you brought it up, because when I was the lobbyist for Planned Parenthood of Utah for 6.5 years, I walked into an organization that our PAC had nothing in it. Like, the most we'd ever raised was like 10 grand. And I was like, oh, no. The very first thing I did was start raising money for our PAC. And I started schmoozing with every lobbyist I could possibly schmooze with in Utah, because that was how I got anything done. And I took us from raising $10,000 for our PAC to $75,000 at our highest year, because I knew I needed money to endorse candidates so I could get my shit done. Because that's how this works. So either we're going to play the game and have a good time playing it, or we're going to lose.
You play the game until you change the game. But you just you can't play the game and talk that shit from the sideline. No,
and you can't change the game if you're not in.
You gotta have skin in the game.
That's right. Oh my God, Dane! I think we should just have our own show, because I think we should have our own show, and so I think we should consider talking about that, because I think we should have our own show. We could have the most fun ever.
I think we would. I think we should travel the country. I think it would be awesome.
Oh my God, let's do it. Yes. I'm serious. Let's do it. Oh my God, we could have so much fun.
Right, you know she's not where she lives.
Look. He's a DJ too, so.
Oh shit, yeah. We could have music. Oh my God. Listen, y'all. This could be a whole new level of fucking awesomeness. Oh my God. I'm not kidding about this either. We're going to talk about this. Okay. I'm not messing. All right. everybody who's here live, y'all saw this first. This is going to happen. Y'all saw history. I have to say a couple things. Hold on the line. Don't leave me off of the Zoom yet. Y'all, thanks for following me and thanks for being here live with us today. If you joined the conversation late, make sure you go back to the beginning so you can hear how badass these lovely human beings are who have joined me today. For those of you who don't know, I have a new online training called Fanning the Flames. You should totally check it out at birdgirlindustries.com. I hope you have a lovely and amazing Monday. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll talk to you later.